Welcome everyone. Dr. Mike, the board president of B3 Sciences, want to welcome you to this exciting presentation. Tonight we're talking about blood sugar health. And if you got the email that I sent out there, you heard me talk about a pandemic. And that is happening. 2/3 of people are overweight, 75% are not getting adequate exercise. Look at this. We're now up to different regions of the world, globally in the United States, up to 45% of people who have blood sugar problems. Everybody's hearing about blood sugar, insulin resistance, A1C, new drugs. Everybody's hearing about this. Why? Because it's becoming more and more prevalent in America today, blood sugar problems. And every one of us knows somebody, or maybe we are or ourselves have somebody in our family or ourselves that are dealing with blood sugar problems. In addition to that, 18 to 35% of people are overweight. What does the U.S. government tell us about vigorous exercise? Adults, 180 to 300 minutes per week. But what they talk about is vigorous exercise in two forms. Vigorous aerobic, okay, not walking on the treadmill. They're talking about walking on the treadmill and then going up an incline, right? And getting very fatigued and then coming back down and then going back up, kind of like a Peloton ride. Then they're talking about vigorous strength training, not light weights, not little 2-pound dumbbells, not going through the equipment, actually building muscle and feeling the burn. Now, why is it so important to feel the burn? Well, you hear a lot about oxygen usage and us reducing oxygen. And you hear the terms aerobic exercise, and you've probably maybe never heard the term anaerobic exercise. Let's talk about aerobic exercise. Aerobic exercise is exercise where the primary fuel is oxygen, because it's a relatively light exercise. Oxygen is being used as a fuel. Where is it coming from? It's continuously flowing into the muscles, converted to energy, but it's flowing in to the muscles consistently by the way of blood. Fast twitch muscles. Now, these are the muscles that are required to lift heavy weights, explosion, run, sprint, jump. They are anaerobic, which is the opposite of aerobic. They use very little to no oxygen, and they primarily use sugar, or sugar that's been converted to a form in your muscle called glycogen. So when we say glycogen that's in your muscles, just know we're talking about sugar, blood sugar that has come in by way of your diet and then into your blood, and then it's converted and put into your muscles. So when you weight train versus doing aerobic conditioning or cardio, and you feel the burn, you are stimulating glycogen or sugar metabolism. Now, what does WebMD say about effective blood sugar metabolism? When you do strength training, your muscles use more glucose from the sugar in your blood to replenish glycogen. So exactly what I just shared with you is what WebMD says. And they say this can lower your blood sugar level. Why? Because if you're going to use the glucose, the sugar, the glycogen in your muscles, it has to be replenished. And then the body actually starts converting circulating blood sugar back into the muscle cells. How does it do that? By using insulin, which is going to lead us to insulin resistance, where every one of you will understand it. But for now, know that we need insulin, convert this sugar to be replenished in our muscles. What Science Daily tell us? High intensity interval training, basically strength training, explosion training, rapidly improves diabetics' glucose metabolism. Interesting. Science Daily, one more time. When we do this type of training, where very simply we feel the burn and pump in our muscles, it rapidly improves diabetics' glucose metabolism. Why is that? Look at this figure chart over here, this little graphic, and look at the little red ball coming up on the cell. When the cell needs to replenish glycogen, meaning we've used up some sugar from doing exercise. The body now accepts the insulin that is circulating in your body, or it is not resistant to it. So see that red ball? It attaches. That's the insulin receptor site. The insulin attaches. And now look at the second picture. The glucose is converted and put into the cell. Because what's insulin do, everybody? It converts sugar into glycogen in the muscle cell. So when your muscles cells are full, or when you have not done any exercise, which you are told, by the way, you need to do 5 days a week minimum for your entire life, not when you're in school, not when you're retired. Every day, there's a reason you need to do it 5 days a week to every day. When you're not doing this, your muscle cells are full of glycogen, right? You didn't burn any sugar. Thus, there's nowhere to put new sugar. And the insulin cannot do its job. Let me repeat this one more time. If you are not using the glycogen in your muscle cells as you're told to do your entire life, there's nowhere for the new glucose to go. The insulin is there. Your body releases it, but the insulin receptor site basically blocks it and says, hey Mary, hey Bill, hey Steve, I got nowhere to put this sugar. You're not exercising. I block it. The insulin cannot attach, which is another term for insulin resistance. Now what happens? You've got all this blood sugar circulating around. It's supposed to be used to convert into fuel in the cell, and it's not being used. It's left over in the blood, right? So the solution is strength training. Now, this is nothing new. We're not teaching you anything. We've known this for 40, 50 years. We know it today. Every university, every smart doctor knows this. Here's the challenge. Most people do not have the time to strength train. 45 minutes of strength training, driving back and forth, purchasing all the equipment. Second, many people have pain, physical limitations. That's me. Third, most people who are exercising are gravitating to easier aerobic exercise. Get on the treadmill, go for a walk, play a little pickleball, get on the vibration plate, do a yoga class, do some water aerobics. We gravitate to that thinking that is the type of strength training that we need, which means very few people end up doing exactly what they're told to do their entire life. And then they end up with blood sugar problems and insulin resistance. So here's the big problem that I'm seeing. I talked about it last week, that you're going to be able to help people with. People who are told to exercise think, okay, I'll just go do some aerobic. I'll go for a walk. I'll go for a bike ride. I'll do some stretching. I'll take a yoga class. No offense, yoga can be very strength stimulating, everyone. I'm talking about the basic. So people do this and they're not accessing the muscle glycogen because they're doing the wrong exercise. We talked about this last week. If you were on the call last week, it's becoming a very big problem also in the United States that people who are doing long aerobic exercise are getting hypothyroidism and metabolism problems because this is not the only way to exercise. So now you got insulin resistance. Your body cannot use the sugar that is circulating around because the insulin cannot attach to the cell because the cell does not need any blood sugar. And now you got high blood sugar and insulin resistance, and you have problems. WebMD calls insulin resistance when your cells in your muscle, fat, and liver, predominantly your muscles. How big are your muscles, everyone, compared to your fat and your liver? What's the biggest organ in the body? The muscles. It's not even close. So where is most of the sugar being used in your body? In your muscles. So when your muscles don't respond to insulin and can't use glucose from your blood for energy. Why? Because the muscle cells are already full. You have not been exercising. Again, there's no need to replenish sugar in your fast twitch muscles if you're not exercising. And now you've got insulin resistance. It's not a disease. Now, there are instances when people have serious disease processes that can cause diabetes. There is child onset diabetes where the pancreas shuts down. But if you are in this pandemic and you know people late 30s, mid 30s up to the 60s, and you develop adult onset diabetes and insulin resistance, quit calling it a disease. You're not doing what your body was designed to do. What would happen if none of you slept? You're supposed to exercise 5 days a week. You don't exercise. What if you only slept 2 days a week? You would have a lot of problems. The exact same thing is happening in the human body. We're not using it the way we want. Physical activity rapidly induces insulin resistance. That's where it's coming from. Now the solution. The solution is not BFR. BFR is the answer to the solution. The solution, everyone, is strength training, not aerobic training. Aerobic training is very beneficial, but you can't just do walking or the treadmill. You have to strength train. And again, people can't do it. We need to help them. The answer is a new technology that all of you know about, BFR. It basically puts you in the burn. Very simply, it allows you to do light exercise that will simulate strength training. It will activate the fast twitch muscles. You know it because you feel the burn. Now, if you're feeling the burn, everyone, like Debbie's on tonight, she felt it. Debbie, as soon as you feel that burn, you're burning muscle glycogen or sugar. Immediately, Debbie, not in an hour, not in 10 minutes, in 30 seconds, probably sooner, you have initiated blood sugar metabolism, and now your cells are very receptive. Insulin resistance is gone temporarily. Let me repeat this, everyone. Insulin resistance is gone until you stop exercising for 2 or 3 days. Plus, all the other benefits we've previously talked about. Look at this study. Now, the first study is not a BFR study. It is looking at what are the effects on the human body of blood sugar metabolism, effectively using blood sugar in moderate versus high intensity exercise, and basically not feeling the burn, going to the gym, doing something kind of medium, and then doing high intensity exercise, banging the ropes, CrossFit class, strength training, where you feel the burn. The group that did the moderate intensity achieved half of the improvement in blood sugar as high intensity. Now, if I asked you why, every one of you knows why. Well, if you're doing high intensity exercise, you're feeling the burn, which means you are burning glycogen. You're working your fast twitch muscle fibers. You have to be, because that's where the burn comes from. And if you're feeling the burn and using glycogen, your body has to replace that, and it immediately kicks in the blood sugar metabolism system. So, people doing low or moderate intensity exercise are not getting the same benefits as strength training. It's just like I said last week. If you're just doing a long cardio exercise, there's some benefits, but you're missing out. Now look at the study. This study, I'll come back to what they did, the blood sugar effect of insulin, the ability for insulin to work significantly increased. What are they saying here? They're saying we did a study, we put demands on people, they did some exercise, they felt the burn, they used some blood, they used some sugar or glycogen in their muscles, and insulin immediately became more effective. Or, let's go back, the insulin can now attach to the cell because the cell says, look at the picture, I can use you now. That's exactly what's happening. I can use you. Insulin resistance is dramatically reduced. Now, here's the shocker. Read the end of the first sentence. 10 walking sessions. Whoa. Not weightlifting, not CrossFit, not pain the next day, going for a walk in just 10 sessions of using BFR bands and walking, insulin effectiveness dramatically, significantly increased. Not a little 10%, significantly. Why? Because when you put the bands on and do something fun and light and walk, you feel the burn, you're using blood sugar, the muscle needs to be replaced, the cells open up, accept the insulin, no more insulin resistance, boom, and you've turned on the blood sugar metabolism system. This is not a trick or a hack or a alternative way. This is the way your body was designed. You were designed to exercise, period. If you're not, every one of you is going to end up with blood sugar problems if you're not exercising. The question is it dormant? Do you know what it is? Have your doctor caught it? Or is it just coming? That's how the human body works, and studies prove it. In this study, in the Scandinavian Journal of Medicine, this now proves that BFR is beneficial for people in the pre-diabetic or diabetic population who may not be able to do, what's it say? Doesn't say go for a walk. Doesn't say light exercise. Doesn't say cardio on the treadmill. It says people who can't do high intensity exercise, or in other words, people who can't access their fast twitch muscle fibers, create the burn glycogen so that the body has to put it back. This is the perfect exercise for them. Perfect exercise.